Let's stay with the State of the Nation address. As we look ahead now, we speak to Dr. Ebrahim Harvey, a political analyst. Dr. Harvey, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. COSATU has said that the State of the Nation address will have dire political consequences, and to restore hope, the Sona needs to present a clear program and set clear implementation benchmarks and timeframes. Do you share these sentiments?
Absolutely, absolutely. But, I'm not too sure what exactly COSATU wants an emphasis to be put on. Many things, we know we've been the worst conceivable crisis on every front. So you can imagine the president would have a lot to say. These are the following items. I don't know exactly what the details are of the COSATU. They have been very busy today. I have not had a look at it. But the energy crisis, this load shedding, the worst load shedding crisis we've ever had, has to top that agenda of Ramaphosa's speech. Remember, he has made many promises in Sona last year and the year before. You know, some of them were met, the gains made against corruption, you know, law enforcement agencies dealing better now with the sabotage of infrastructure, etc. Those are some of the gains. But our big things are the load shedding crisis, really. You know how many promises have been made, and Ramaphosa regarding the electricity crisis has been full of platitudes. From one, every time it will get better, and it's been getting worse from time to time. And besides that, you mustn't forget that we're sitting with the worst cost of living crisis at this moment. Water, sewage, not only electricity, sanitation is part across the country. And on top of that, prominent in this address has to be what he would like to avoid, which is what he's avoided for almost a year. The Palapala crisis. Now, I must just take 1 minute to give you some background of why it's so important. The Integrity Commission of the ANC was supposed to deliver a report on the Palapala scandal. You know, it's very strangely, and in fact, I believe it has the signature of Ramaphosa over it. They decided they're not going to, and I believe it's because of pressure from the NEC. They didn't release that report. They said, no, they'll hold back to releasing it at the national conference. Again, in the national conference, they did not release it. Ramaphosa seems to be acting really, the conduct is suggestive of guilt. He hasn't been open, hasn't been honest. Even the parliamentary panel found they were not happy with his version of events. That's precisely why they found there's a prima facie case to answer. Ramaphosa, this is the biggest scandal. Believe me, in some respects, it's bigger than Nkandla. He has to come clean. You know, the law enforcement agencies have also delayed in delivering their reports of the investigations. It is the biggest crisis that we're facing, and he has to speak to it besides the load-shedding electricity crisis. And
it is one of those big issues, particularly for the EFF, because they say that they are going to disrupt and make sure that, you know, he cannot address. But we do know, and we have seen in the past, what happens when these disruptions come. But for them, it is a huge issue. And I wonder then, you know, Dr. Harvey, how confident are you, though, that it will be addressed, looking at the fact that we're still sitting today waiting for the public protector to release her report on this matter?
No, I'm not confident. I wasn't saying that at all. In fact, the obstacles have been put in way. The ANC is deliberate. I mean, they even stood in the way. They used their numbers in parliament to bludgeon their way through the opposition. They were so lacking in confidence of what Ramaphosa had told the independent panel. They did not even allow, they prevented even a discussion and debate of the parliamentary report. And the report said that it's contingent. It's not definitive. It's not saying that Ramaphosa is guilty. It's just saying there's a prima facie case. You need to discuss and debate this. They stopped that unfolding, you know. So the EFF, I predicted we're going to have a tumultuous Sona and a reopening of the state of parliament. And I can tell you what's going to top the agenda. Well, two things, twin things, because they are urgent. Both are extremely urgent. That is the Palapala scandal and the electricity load shedding crisis. Those are the two main issues. We have to hear what Ramaphosa is going to say on Thursday. You know, aside from the waffling, you know, he's really good at waffling and platitudes. You know, since 2018 with his New Dawn speech, and you can see how things have turned out, you know. So tomorrow, I argue, is in fact the most difficult and yet momentous and important State of the Nation address ever since 1994, when the ANC won power. And it's by far.
Dr. Harvey, pardon me for coming in there. There's also another issue that, it has been bubbling under for quite some time. Workers are buckling under pressure, and they've been quite unhappy about the fact that they've not seen the increases that they want. What does this say then to inspire confidence in this regard?
Well, you can see that's why Benny Mantashe was turned away from COSATU for 2 successive days. They angrily prevented Mantashe from addressing them. I mean, just a few months ago. So the COSATU's, the NC's ally COSATU is extremely happy for many reasons, So when you talk of the cost of living crisis, it's directly affecting COSATU and the members. And bear in mind one thing that's very, very important. When wage increases do not keep pace with inflation and the cost of living crisis, what happens is that the standard of living of workers steadily declines and drops to make life harder for those people. So it's a very important thing. I hope that COSATU's stand is going to be consistent, and who knows, they've already threatened that if things don't go their way, they're going to have the SACP standing against the ANC in the 2024 elections. They threatened it. And I don't think the SACP has been more serious than what they're saying at the moment, because they're feeling the pinch of the crisis together with COSATU members like never before.
And Dr. Harvey, let's look back in time then to the first time he delivered his State of the Nation address. That whole song by Hugh Masekela, Tumamina, became the tone, as he addressed the Parliament as well as South Africans about, the grand plans, the new dawn. Has it materialized? Have we seen progress since then?
No, we not only have not seen progress. This is the interesting feature of this crisis, is that things have not only not got better, it's got steadily worse. You're dealing with the worst cost of living, food inflation crisis at the moment. We have the worst unemployment ever. We have got the worst raging social inequalities. And interestingly, it's not between black and white. It's not interracial. It's intraracial. BEE and the black working middle class rising has given rise to the biggest social inequalities within the black population. It's very interesting. It's far outstripping the differences and class divisions between black and white. So there's so much, to speak about, but definitely you've raised a very key and critical point, and that is the relationship between wage increases, when they do take place, tailing far behind the cost of living crisis, with the result that the standards of living, as low as they are, declines even further.
Dr. Harvey, let's see then if, as you then are calling for this State of the Nation address to inspire confidence, let's see if that becomes a reality. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We do appreciate it. That was political analyst Dr. Ebrahim Harvey.